Greetings in the name of Christ. I hope everybody's having a great week. This last week has been really weird because I had a lot of the stuff coming out about the pastors meeting, the government stuff about UFO files, then release of UFO files. People are freaking out everywhere about what is really going on. I've been researching UFOs since I was in junior high, back in 1969, 71, and all these years, I've been reading all kinds of articles and books and stuff, everything I find on UFOs. So I've been putting together pieces out here and pieces there, and I even seen a UFO as a kid really up close in my backyard. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So what I did is I took I decided to take all the information, put it in a blender, and pull and see what I could get. So this is an attempt to understand the UFO and alien problem from a historical perspective, and timeline perspective. They see the timeline, how things have shaped up, and what's shaping our world today from the ancient past. Because everything on our world today that's happening has a beginning somewhere in our past. So we have to look at the past to understand the future sometimes. So let us look at the world history and see what we can come up with. But also, before we begin, we have to understand a basic thing about the cosmos and about Earth and about mankind, that everything was created by God. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. Everything was created by God. No matter what it is, God created it. We live in a spiritual world and a spiritual universe. And sometimes we don't understand that in our worlds today. So people get so enamored with this world and the flesh and what science and evolution and humanism and socialism, all kinds of stuff. They fail to understand the basic principles of the universe, that everything in our world and beyond is all connected to God spiritually. If you like it or not, that's the facts. So we have to understand that. We understand that because in the beginning of the world, God created the heavens and earth, but also there was a great rebellion. Revelation says that Satan took out 1/3 of the heavenly host, the stars of heaven. So we see in the beginning of the earth there was a great spiritual war. And the war took place in the heavenly realm. We don't know what it is. It could be space. It could be other planets. It could be what's going on. They could be explained why there's the ruins of Mars. We don't know. But we know that there was a great rebellion, because Jesus said in the Gospel, I saw Satan fall to earth like lightning. So he had to fall from somewhere in space or heavenly realm into the earth or onto the earth. So you understand there was a spiritual war many, many, many thousands of years ago. And from that, there was God creating mankind. Mankind was put in the garden for protection against all things around him, because the world was a crazy world back then with dinosaurs and all kinds of things. So man was in the garden for a reason. And Adam and Eve were deceived by a serpent. And the Bible says the serpent was like a cattle field and cunning animal. So we understand that the serpent was a recreated being. And we know that the serpent, because it was a serpent, it was a reptilian kind of created being. People think that the serpent in the garden is a snake, but it cannot be a snake, because the word for snake or poisonous snake in Hebrew is seraph, and it's not used in Genesis here. What's used here is the word nakash, Hebrew word nakash, what means serpent. And the same serpent we see here in the garden shows up later on with Moses and with the people, afflicting the people with sickness and people dying. So Moses took and put the serpent on the rod so people look at the rod and be healed. And the Bible talks about these serpents being fiery flying serpents. The same word is used as in Genesis 3. So there's a connection. There's the serpent being put out there as a created being. And so understand that also in this time after the fall stuff and Genesis, that the sons of God saw the daughters of man were beautiful and had relationships. We don't know who the sons of God were there. People said they're watchers of this stuff. People, Book Enoch. Book Enoch is very untrustworthy. The Book Enoch is an interesting book to read, but so many problems with the Book Enoch, you cannot say it is absolutely true, because the Book Enoch contradicts itself. So we have to understand that what we know about the watchers is very minimal. We don't know what the if even the sons of God were the watchers. We don't know that. People, because they say get that from Enoch, but Enoch was a book that came out in the 2nd century. Wasn't found earliest copy found in 2nd century, and the book Enoch contradicts itself and makes it really it's obviously not written by Enoch, because it talks about things after the flood. Enoch would not be alive on earth after the flood. He was taken up before the flood. So it doesn't make the book Enoch makes no sense if you study it. So it can't be. You can't understand what happened in Genesis 6 through Enoch. It makes no sense. But we know that the hybrids and the Nephilim came from that period of time. That's one reason God sent the flood. But also, God moved through time into Egypt and the plagues and stuff. And Christ came to the cross and got victory over all evil, all serpents, all things. Christ's victory was more overcoming than we realize. We don't realize how encompassing the final victory of Christ was in his resurrection. We all say, "Well, he did this and this," and we don't understand the large implications that is associated with that. And so we have to understand that what Christ accomplished when he was on earth and in his death and resurrection was much more far encompassing, because we're giving power, we're giving authority over the principalities and powers of the world. So in the world, that we have all the principles, powers that we have to tend with. We have all kinds of entities. We have the fallen angels. We have the Nakash serpents. We have all the Nephilim spirits, the demons and stuff. So we have all these spirits and demons and stuff that we have to contend with. And Christ has given us victory over all of them. Even the serpents which are flesh and blood. They're a created being. But if you look at history, there's a serpent history almost every single culture in the world. And this culture talks about these serpent beings. And if you look at some of the carvings of the ancient world, you see something interesting. These carvings of the serpents are exactly like the ebis and greys we see now, the big eyes and small mouths. They're the same sculpture of thousands of years ago. So these beings are not from outer space. They're from end of the earth, because God cursed them onto the earth. On the belly you go and eat dust. So we understand that there's a serpent underground world mentality that we have to understand that exists. And if you understand, like a lot of military bases, a lot of even ancient times, they had underground temples, underground sacrificing chambers to sacrifice to these beings. So there is a culture that goes back, way back, about these greys and his serpents. So we have to understand that. We have to understand also that Nazi Germany was the watershed moment in modern history where the space programs were born. The space program was not born in the United States. It wasn't born of NASA or Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It was born in Nazi Germany. What happened in Nazi Germany, there was a group there called the Vril Society. It was a group of ladies that were psychics and channelers, and they were channeling and have psychic visions and stuff from this Aryan alien who were given technology, information. And that information, they built advanced technology. They built what they call the Hanbu 1, Hanbu 2, Hanbu 3. And also they had spaceships, spacesuits, and all kinds of stuff. The Glock Bell, all kinds of devices and stuff. So Nazis were the first country to build flying saucers of flying ships, Foo Fighters and stuff. So we're come out of Nazi Germany. So the modern space program was born in Nazi Germany. That's something a lot of people don't know because they don't, but it's really true. And we can see that the Nazis also had a base on Antarctica, and that's why Admiral Byrd went to Antarctica, was to look for this Nazi base. And they had to flee because they were being attacked by flying saucers and shooting at them. So the Nazis were the first one to build these saucers and flying craft. From that, the government, the United States knew about that. So they had a program called Operation Paperclip. They would invite von Braun and other people in from Nazi scientists. And they learned about, they were working on rockets and stuff. But also, they found out they were getting information by channeling. And so the United States government started channeling and doing stuff themselves in secret rituals and stuff to get knowledge from the spiritual world. A lot of our space technology we have now comes from this channeling and spiritual guides and demonic rituals and stuff. A lot of our technology comes from that, and also going out and reverse engineering the fallen craft. So we understand that NASA is also equated with the supernatural, because the Jet Propulsion Laboratory before NASA, they were involved with Aleister Crowley and demonic and the magic working, trying to make Antichrist, all kinds of stuff. So the NASA has always been associated with spiritual powers and spiritual cover-ups, so to say. So we understand the space program as it is heavily saturated with spiritual activity. And we see that this technology we have is heading for AI stuff. It's all leading to Antichrist. So all this technology, all this serpent stuff, all these fallen angels, all this stuff is heading towards the Antichrist, to the AI Antichrist. We have to understand that demons are not all. This is not all demons. I see on the internet a lot of people, the evils are demons, are demons. Well, that's a really stupid statement, because demons can't build spaceships. Demons don't have DNA. They can't make hybrids. Because these beings are making hybrid humans. That a lot of eyewitnesses and people have been abducted, and you can buy book after book after book talks about all these abductions and sexual experiments. I have one book I was reading about a doctor. He was helping these women that would have damage to the uterus because of all these experiments that are being taken. We have to understand there's more going on here than we understand, because we are living in a spiritual war. The Bible tells that we are living a spiritual war, and the church today doesn't take that seriously. We have paranoia in the church. Christians are very paranoid. They go, "This is demonic. This is demonic." Everything that you can't understand, they say is demonic or fallen angels. But the other powers out there, like the Nakash, the serpents, that are alive on the earth. And all the beings on space might be. And the Bible says in the book of Hebrews that God created worlds and time and space. So God can create anything he wants. Just because we don't understand, not everything we understand is true. Not everything, we can't put God in a box that says, this is my God is a box. He can only do what I want him to do. But God is not a power input in the box. We know that there's moons on Mars. We know that there is other planets in space that have lights on stuff. We know there's other beings out in space. So saying aliens don't exist is pretty stupid. But I've seen pastors and prophets saying aliens don't exist. Well, the Bible says they do. Work of the, you understand that we are also aliens. God has called us to be aliens. Are you an alien? You need to be an alien because God has called us to be not of this world. He called us out of this world. And we can't get out of this world if we're stuck in this world, making every excuse why we not following Christ. We're blaming everything on demons, everything, or this and that. People today really don't know the Bible very well. Even a lot of these pastors don't know the Bible very well. It's really a sad commentary on the ministry today. I've seen all his posts on UFOs and stuff. Almost every post shows these pastors don't know this Bible. They don't know the scriptures. It's a sad thing. But you have to understand the Bible is true. You need to study the Bible yourself. Don't follow a minister entirely and say, and believe everything I tell you. Take everything you say, take it to the Bible, take it to the Lord in prayer, take everything to God. Seek God. God has the wisdom. God has the understanding. God has the truth. Mankind doesn't have the truth. They think they do, but they don't. All the stuff I've studied for over many years, like 50 years, I still don't know the truth. I'm still looking for the truth. I don't know what I saw as a kid in the sky, the UFO. I don't know. I don't know what the God has shown me, open visions about spaceships and stuff. I don't know. I'm still looking for the truth. And if I'm still looking for it all these years, it's really hard to find. But one thing I know for sure, God is still on the throne. God's still working. God's true. Everything has to line with God's word. And that's the truth. And you have to line your life with Christ. Are you lining your life with Christ? If not, you need to do right now because time is ticking and time is short. It's like the psalmist says, my life is like smoke. I'm here and I'm gone. Are you ready to be gone? Because once you live this world, you're not coming back. And your eternity is lying before you. What is your choice? What road are you going to take? You can take highway hell or take the strong, crooked path to God. That's hard to go. So everybody's busy going this way. Take the time to read the Bible, seek God. May God bless you this week. Take care.